Do you have a very kind of mapped out strategic plan for ICE and World Gaming Week?
So we've got key speakers from AWS, we've got Microsoft, Huawei, they'll all be on that stage hosting those key conversations. So turning ICE into a technological hub that extends beyond the gambling sector.
Is it purely just about that headline visitor numbers, or are there more things that are involved in that?
We all know this industry loves big numbers and size, and particularly when we're the size and scale that we are. But really, we know what matters most to the customers and the industry is making sure that we're attracting the right kind of visitors.
How do you think it'll affect the exhibitor and visitor experience?
Like transportation, for example, it's really easy to get from any district in Barcelona using the metro within 25 minutes. We're offering free metro passes to help with that with our partner BetConstruct.
Hello and welcome to the G3 Pulse podcast. My guests today are Clarion Gaming's Margaret Dunn and Jody Frost. Margaret, Jody, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Great to be here. Lovely to see you.
The last time I saw you both together, I think, was at the Clarion partner briefing in Barcelona back in September. Thank you again for the invite. But to be fair, it was a bit of an information overload at the time. So I wanted to unpack a few things, and some of the things that you outlined during the multiple presentations that you gave on the day. But before I get into that, can I first ask, Margaret, this is going to be your first ICE. Has the run-up to the event been what you anticipated? And Jody, do you actually get a Christmas and New Year?
It's a good question. I'll start. So as you say, it's my very first ICE. I did attend last year's event, but wasn't involved with any of the planning or preparation, and can't take any credit for how well it went. It's been really great to be part of the experience this year. We always knew it was going to be pretty full on. We've got a brilliant team behind us that are working on loads of different initiatives. Everyone's very passionate, lots of new ideas flying around that we have to try and manage and prioritize. And obviously the key features of the show that are so critical to ICE. Loads of different things happening. So it's busy, I'm not going to lie. But I think things are going well. I mean, everything's on track. I think it's manageable. Enjoying the process. But yes, we're very much looking forward to the next seven weeks and seeing it all come to life on site.
And you, Jody?
Yeah, sort of, I suppose, is the answer. It's that interesting time of year where really everything stops anyway, doesn't it, over Christmas? And there's only so much one can do when everyone else is sitting there enjoying their turkey or having their sort of family time. So yes, we do. I mean, obviously we're checking in all the time to look at how the registration is going. As you can probably imagine, the main focus of our team from a marketing perspective is obviously to attract the right kind of visitors to the show. So we look at all sorts of forensic insights around that. And as you can imagine, having the benefit of doing last year as well, we now know with a relative degree of certainty when people are going to be registering, and we can kind of pace that against the previous year's performance. So a little bit of, I probably would be lying to say that I would completely switch off, but I know me and my team will be sneaking in and checking a few things, making sure that the right comms are going out at the right time during that whole sort of festive period. But hopefully not too much. So
okay. Well, I'm glad you get a bit of a holiday at least. In terms of the partner briefing that we had, you explained about ICE 2026 being kind of obviously year two of the event, but also part of a 5-year plan. And I was wondering, do you have a very kind of mapped out strategic plan for ICE and World Gaming Week through till when it would actually be 2030? And I know that's a kind of a huge topic to break down, but I was wondering, what milestones are you measuring that success against? And is it purely just about that headline visitor numbers, or are there more things that are involved in that?
Yeah, so I mean, absolutely, we do have a very clearly defined plan and strategy for the next 5 years, and we've got loads of measurables that we look at. So in terms of 5-year goals, I mean, there's a couple of things. The obvious one to start with is space at the FIRA. So for 2026, we've taken an additional hall, and we're now sitting at around 143,000 square meters. And we are looking at increasing the space each year by adding an additional hall and ultimately taking over the whole Fira, which is about 220,000 square meters. We will, of course, grow the visitor numbers in relation to that. So in 2025, we had about 60,000 visitors. This year, we're aiming and on track to achieve 65,000. And ultimately, we'll be growing that steadily year on year, focusing on the key regions like Jody mentioned, LATAM and Asia visitors, and ultimately aiming for around 100,000 visitors over the 5-year goal. So big plans. But of course, we do break that down. We've got various intermediate goals that we're working on, and I would say probably the biggest thing we're working on at the moment is this focus on the technology transformation, so turning ICE into a technological hub that extends beyond the gambling sector. So it's something we started on this year. So we rebranded the show floor content from the center stage to the enterprise stage, and that's really going to be the stage where all the conversations around technology happen this year. So we've got key speakers from AWS, we've got Microsoft, Huawei, they'll all be on that stage hosting those key conversations. That's where we're going to have our Innovator Challenge with Microsoft as well. That'll be on that same stage. And that's where we'll also have our Startups Accelerator, which is the competition that the workshops and roundtables that we've got this year, which help startups take their products from the startup pitch stage and through to making them ready for market launch. So that's kind of the first stage in the journey.
Okay, and is it mapped out beyond obviously this key year into next year and the next year, or are they still is that loosely kind of put together?
No, I'd say we've got some plans in place. So I'd say our strategy for 2027 is fairly defined. So we plan on taking an additional hall. So it will be hall 6 next. And we will turn that into our technology or digital transformation hall. So we're going to move the enterprise stage into that hall. And that's where we're going to be looking at securing some of those big tech brands and also a lot of new innovation companies as well. So whether they be focusing on cybersecurity or new tech relating to the gambling sector, they shall sit in that hall. And then we're looking at zoning a bit more of the show as well. So that's something that worked really well this year, having the clearly defined hall 1 and 2 for iGaming, hall 3 for land-based, hall 4 and 5 for sports betting. So as we expand, we will keep that zoning, and we're going to try and zone the payment sector as well, and bring those companies all together so they're easy to find as well.
Okay. Moving on to what I consider as the kind of Barcelona transformation from London to Barcelona. What would you say are the big personality changes that have happened with ICE? And what lessons, you were talking about some of the things that you'd learned from the first show. What are the things that are shaping 2026?
Yeah, it's a good question. So again, I wasn't at London, but I have heard a lot about how it's changed from London to Barcelona, and there just seem to be so many benefits. I think one of the key things is, and Jody will attest to this as well, is the international nature of the show. So since we moved to Barcelona, we've now got representatives from 186 countries. We've got a far bigger audience from Spain, as you can probably imagine, but also we had something like a 55% increase from Italy, significant increases from LATAM and Asia as well. So the event feels much more international. And we're capitalizing on that this year by introducing some content in Spanish. We're introducing simultaneous translation in the content for any language. We're introducing all sorts of things like the registration form, the app is now all in Spanish. So we are making it into much more of an international vibe, which I think is key. And then on a personality level, things like, everything just seems simpler, like transportation, for example. It's really easy to get from any district in Barcelona using the metro within 25 minutes. We're offering free metro passes to help with that with our partner BetConstruct. The weather's better, obviously, so we've got outside spaces that we can capitalize, and we're really making the most of some of the cultural offerings in Barcelona. So we've got our welcome drinks at the Timeout Market. We've got our unwind at a beach bar, just things like that you could never have done in London. So yeah, I think it's a really cool vibe.
Cool. Jody, you mentioned before about the visitor figures, the fact you'd be checking them over Christmas period intermittently. in terms of the emphasis, is buyer density rather than headcount was a focus that you mentioned at the in Barcelona tours. How would you define that, and how do you validate the quality of visitors rather than just kind of the headcount?
So yeah, it's something that's really, really important to us. Like, we all know this industry loves big numbers and size, and it's very easy to get sort of carried away with just making sure we kind of like hit some of those big numbers, particularly when we're the size and scale that we are. But really, we know what matters most to the customers in the industry is making sure that we're attracting the right kind of visitors. So all of our campaigns are very much segmented, very much targeted specifically to the B2B element of the show, and as one would expect, being a trade show. But equally, in the registration process, we will glean quite a bit of information from our visitors in terms of their areas of business, what they're really interested in, and that enables us sort of on a almost real-time basis to really review how many operators we might be attracting, how many suppliers we might be attracting, what kind of brands and what kind of I suppose companies and organizations are visiting. And naturally, to sort of, without getting very, very dull about all the data, it comes down to sort of like using our existing database to make sure that we are attracting the right kind of audiences, and targeting our marketing efforts to ensure that we are putting out the right kind of message to the industry in terms of attracting the right kind of buyers. Like, we know that ICE has scale like nothing else, but scale is only really useful if you can use it as a point of leverage, is to make the show more valuable for everyone that comes. And I think certainly in terms of how we measure and monitor, when I say we're sort of checking the figures, it's probably a little bit deeper than just having a look and seeing how many people are registered on that day. We'll be looking and diving into how many regulators have registered at this point versus last year, how many operators are coming, how many operator brands are being represented, and in what sort of force and scale. So yeah, that enables us to adapt our messaging and target specific, I suppose, organizations and profiles of people that we want to make sure are coming to the show, to make sure that everyone gets the most value out of the visit. It's not just about sort of a fantastic experience, which we know we will always endeavor to deliver. It's about making sure that the people who are at that event are there for the right reasons, and for reasons primarily to meet, connect with other people in the industry and do some business. So yeah, it's very much a focus. Whilst quantity is important in terms of making sure that the show feels busy and buzzy, ultimately it's the quality which really is the most important element, certainly for us, and making sure that our customers in the industry get the value that they really want to get from the show.
Thanks, Jody. Margaret, you mentioned about adding the extra hall before, and Jody was talking about busy and buzzy, which kind of comes down to obviously headcount on the floor as well, and people moving and filling the spaces around when you've added this extra space as well. What were the feedback? What feedback were you getting to actually make those changes to the hall, and how do you think it'll affect the exhibitor and visitor experience?
Yeah, I mean, we added the extra hall, just due to demand mainly. I mean, we had a lot of exhibitors who wanted to join ICE as one of the most influential shows in the gambling sector. So that's why we added the additional hall. We have been working quite a lot behind the scenes on the navigation. So we want to ensure that people go into Hall 1 first, and there's various things in Hall 1 to entice them in. So we've got our Barcelona Beer Festival, where you'll be able to check out the ICE branded beer, which is very cool. So that will hopefully encourage people to go into Hall 1. And then it's also just helped allow space for additional features in the show as well. So one of the feedback pieces that we got is that with a show as busy as ICE, there's never enough space to sit down and host a meeting. And we know how important meetings are for the show. I think we estimated that over 1 million meetings happen during World Gaming Week. So we've added an additional quiet zone in the spine of the show, which gives a bit more space for people to, sit down, charge their phone, check their emails, host the meetings without having to leave the show floor. Other bits of feedback that we've done for relating to the layout, the sustainable gambling zone is a very critical part of the show and always will be. So we have changed the layout of that zone. So we've made it much more open plan to give those technology companies a bit more visibility. And we've actually changed the location slightly. So it now sits in the thoroughfare between halls 4 and 5. So that area will get additional traffic as well. So yeah, lots of tweaks here and there with the feedback and navigation.
Okay. You mentioned before the enterprise stage and about the ICE incubator challenge as well. You were placing the emphasis on technology. Obviously, delicately putting it, how do you cut the conversation though between what is the hype and the actual genuine business value between setting this up and saying you have it, as opposed to making sure that people actually use it and it's a valuable asset to the show?
Yeah, well, I think it's a valid question, but I think it's important to say that it's not a one-off initiative. So it's not like we're launching this partnership and that's that. It's very much the start of our journey to, as I said, turn ICE into this major, technological hub. So we're working with partners such as Microsoft. They'll be doing a presentation, but they're also offering this suite of prizes. So as part of this competition, they're offering support to the companies that are entering the competition and advice on their AI concepts. So this is a sort of a long partnership. And then during the event, they'll give a presentation, they'll have a networking event so people can meet and greet. And then same with other big players as well. So AWS and Huawei, they'll be presenting, but we'll also be having these structured networking sessions afterwards as well, so that people can meet with them. And then other things, so we offer VIP technology tours as well. So companies who are interested in seeing ICE but perhaps don't know what it's all about can join one of these tours, and we'll take them around the show floor and show them some of the key technology highlights that are happening during the show, and pique their interest so that we can get them more involved for next year's show.
Okay. One of the things that I think Jody was mentioning before was about regulators as well, and about being that quality of the visitation, and obviously regulators are a huge part of that. More than 300 attended in 2025. How do you deepen that engagement in terms of bringing them to the show, bringing more to the show, making it a valuable experience for them, both for the regulators themselves, but also the audience in terms of practical policy outcomes?
Yeah, so we have we had about 300 regulators at the show last year, which we know is already one of the largest gatherings of regulators worldwide. We have targets to increase that to over 400 this year. We are on track for that, which I'm sure Jody can talk about. But in terms of how we're doing that, we recently set up a regulatory advisory board. So this is a set of compliance and regulatory experts from different jurisdictions and different regions across the world who have been advising us on this topic. So in terms of what we need to offer to entice more regulators to the show. So as a result, we have introduced various things for this iteration of ICE. We've introduced a 25% discount for regulators, which is already having an impact. We've introduced Chatham House rules for the first time. So in World Regulatory Briefing, following the keynote, which is open to everyone, we will then introduce Chatham House rules so that regulators can have some of these open discussions and debates without fear of repercussions of it being reported to by media such as yourselves. And various things like that. We've got working lunches, we've got interactive debates and roundtables. So a whole host of offerings really to bring the regulators together and to help them have these conversations and come up with solutions of how we can tackle some of the challenges such as the illegal markets.
Okay. Jody, I can't remember if it was you or Margaret in Barcelona who singled out UK operators and LATAM markets, especially Brazil, as kind of key targets for visitors for 2026. How are you tailoring the outreach to those audiences?
So I think with every sort of area of the market, we almost split our marketing efforts into two kind of core I suppose deliverables. Really, when we moved, we obviously expected to see a little bit of a drop off from the UK market, which was totally expected. I think when we dove into that data, there were, as I say, as one might expect, there were some people that were just huge fans of the industry, a small contingent of people that really sort of I suppose, were industry enthusiasts, but maybe not business critical, I suppose, for them to attend for a number of different reasons. But we did notice a small drop in the UK operator program, largely down to people sending less people. So I suppose really that what that flags to us is that we need to make sure that we have a program of events and features and content that really attracts that UK audience, because it's a big part of the industry. Equally, we are very responsive to the needs of the industry, and LATAM, as we are probably all aware, is a big growth opportunity for the industry. So in order for us to really promote the growth of the industry as a wider whole, we have to be bringing those expanding markets into the conversation, and there's no better place for that to happen than ICE. Obviously, there's lots of regional shows, but I suppose the real benefit is to meet on a global scale and on a global stage, to have those conversations, meet with the right suppliers, meet with the right operators, to make sure that we're growing that. So we will run several different sort of segmented campaigns that are really targeting the I suppose solving the pain points of those UK operators, and likewise with the guys from the LATAM regions as well. As a process, we know that things don't change overnight. There's different levels of penetration, even for ICE, in these different markets. So slowly but surely making sure that we're making the right connections in those markets, and talking to the regulatory bodies, ensuring that they are part of that conversation as well, attracting the larger operators, making sure that they feel welcomed and catered for when they come to the show. And largely it's about sort of communicating what we've got on offer, because we have a huge amount of stuff on offer for each one of our contingents. We plan our products incredibly carefully, using sort of direct feedback from our customers, but also our advisory boards, as Mags has already mentioned, really listening to what the industry is asking for, and providing a platform for that to be facilitated. So a big part of my job is just making sure that everyone's heard about it, because there is so much going on, and therefore the needs of everyone are unique. So being able to deliver platforms which allow them to carefully select and I suppose arrange their week to make sure they're kind of getting all the value out of it that we can, but giving them tools like the app or like the AI concierge that we're launching this year, so that people don't miss out on the things that are really most important to them. And I guess that's probably the main focus. So building on an example of the regulatory program, actually having a very kind of cohesive, well thought through product offering, as we might call it internally, that allows regulators to come to the show and have a really positive experience, and make sure that they are getting the information, the opportunities to network, and we just roll that same philosophy out over all of those different I suppose one might call them cohorts in the marketing lexicon, but having things like the LATAM networking drinks and opportunities for operators from LATAM regions to come and meet global suppliers. We facilitate all of those things at the show. So it's a question of making sure that they understand and appreciate that. So, hence being more multilingual than we've ever been before, and providing those opportunities for connection in a really sort of purposeful way, should we say.
I think that was the same, I mentioned at the start about the information overload. You have so many things going on that breaking them all down and actually seeing what's important to one set of cohorts as opposed to another one, and then just making sure that they understand which message is supposed to be is pretty tricky. I mean, I wanted to ask about the IGB affiliate side as well. You're moving into halls 8 and 8.1. How do you see that relationship evolving? They're coming together under what is, I always think of it as being ICE and IGB affiliate world, but you at the partner event, you actually mentioned and brought in the fact about it being the World Gaming Week, and under that umbrella, both shows fit. How do you see that evolving?
So yeah, it's something that we're being a lot more direct in terms of talking about. I think World Gaming Week as a kind of concept probably certainly predates me as a kind of way to capture. We know that the centerpiece of that week is ICE and IGB affiliate, the two shows coming together. But outside of that, there is so much that goes on that are around sort of networking opportunities, parties that are put on by some of our customers and some of the industry. There's just this huge I suppose opportunity for the industry to come together that far exceeds just what goes on during the show hours. So World Gaming Week really kind of became coined as a phrase to capture all of that. So, as we've mentioned before, sort of starting with the welcome drinks and what we termed day zero, and having some maybe more relaxed networking. Like, we know ICE is a real marathon in terms of the 3 days. There's so much to see and do. We kind of wanted to build this ability to ease into it a little bit and maybe have a slightly softer introduction to the show, so that you can start that sort of networking in a more social environment before you kind of hit the show floor. And then building that out, obviously IGB Affiliate is, I suppose one might call it, it's very much its own entity, but it's very much a show that runs alongside ICE as part of the gaming industry. I think, the proposition for the two shows is slightly different. We use the phrase that ICE is the place the world of gaming goes to do business. So it's really important that we bring in every single part of the gaming ecosystem to visit ICE. Equally, IGB Affiliate is a very pure play proposition. It's fundamentally about affiliates being welcomed in to meet affiliate programs and connecting those to two parties. Obviously, there's sort of tech providers and various other entities which need to be part of that conversation as well. But really, it's very much about being quite a direct introductory service. So we still have the same kind of approach as you would see throughout the whole of anything that is sort of like a Clarion gaming event, in terms of the delivery and quality and the experience. However, IGB Affiliate is very much a dedicated entity. So last year was particularly successful. We saw some really quite impressive growth, I think, which speaks brilliantly to the health of the industry. And certainly from a visitor and an exhibitor perspective, they were saying, we need more space. We want to do sort of some more interesting and exciting things to build on the great work we did last year. So equally, it sort of made sense that we had a dedicated entrance to it. So this year, the entrance that everyone would have seen last year was the south entrance, and that will still remain the entrance to ICE, but we've relocated IGB Affiliate right to the other end of the campus. So that's now at the north entrance. So it'll have its own dedicated entrance, still totally interchangeable with ICE. Anybody who attends IGB Affiliate will have a pass into ICE as well. Mm-hmm. And naturally, it's that terrible saying around the whole being greater than the sum of the parts. I think when you put it all together, it just creates more excitement and more growth opportunities for people to meet, connect, and sort of network in those in that environment. So yeah, I think moving forward, it will certainly sort of maintain its integrity as a pure play proposition, but definitely when we talk to our advisory boards on both sides of the ICE and IGB Affiliate events, they really see a value in both shows running sort of collaboratively. And it has a slightly different tone and vibe in IGB Affiliate, as one might expect. But it provides a very, very simple, easy to connect sort of moment in space and time for people to do the meetings that they need to do. Equally, it's great for them to see the rest of the ecosystem of gaming and be part of that discussion, see all the great sort of innovations that are happening with our suppliers in iGaming and all of the amazing stuff that's happening on show floor in casino and so on and so forth. So it's very much a kind of ongoing development of both propositions, but having them closely linked is really, really valuable for both parts of the equation.
I think having walked the floor, I think people will be surprised at how far it is from that south entrance to the affiliate side. I mean, I think Naomi Barton, we're talking about tuk-tuks and things like that to bring people to the entrance, and I think there's that kind of level of kind of humor and interest, which I think Stuart Hunter was talking about, the festivalization of the show. And I was wondering, you're talking about lifestyle and wellness. There's going to be an ice run. Margaret mentioned that there's going to be a bar and drinks and ice beer. There'll be a gin hour. How do you strike the right balance between creating a festival atmosphere and maintaining ICE's B2B credibility? I think Alex Pratt recently on LinkedIn was talking about events getting it wrong in one side as well. Where do you see that balance, and how do you strike the right balance?
Well, I mean, it is a balance, absolutely. I mean, we work in the entertainment industry, so we talk a lot about the fun economy. People come to ICE and they look forward to ICE for the experience. So all those elements are really critical to the show. And yeah, we've been working hard on some of these cool new initiatives. We mentioned the beer festival. We've also got a partnership with McLaren, which is very cool. So you'll have opportunities for, driving simulators and supercar rides and all this fun stuff. So there's loads going on. But our priority, and as Jody was saying, is that ICE is the place that the world of gaming goes to do business. It's a business event, and everything that we do comes back to how we help facilitate, people to conduct that business. So what I was saying earlier about the quiet zone, that's an area where people can have meetings. In terms of our networking, we always do it with like the business perspective in mind. So, for example, on our day zero, our World Gaming Gala, that's an invite only exclusive networking event where we bring together regulators and operators in a luxury venue. Obviously they're going to have a great time, but the purpose is to facilitate those networking conversations. And same with things like catering. So, we last year we had at least 40 different catering options. We've introduced some cool new options for this year. We've got, healthy options, grab and go. But again, what we track is the amount of time it takes to get your food. So from last year, for example, we know that it didn't take anyone any longer than 9 minutes to queue for their food. So they can get their food, then they can go back to what they came to ICE for, which is to do the business. So yeah, obviously it's important, but it's not the most important thing. The most important thing is that you come to ICE, come to World Gaming Week to have the time to do your business and to get everything set up for the rest of the year.
And talking about the important thing, you mentioned the ICE Research Institute and its aims, and it was the aim was to kind of leave something that's more long lasting than the 3-day event. How important is it, I guess, within Clarion that this is involved in this? What role do you see it playing in shaping a more responsible, technology literate industry in the years ahead?
Yeah, I think this is really critical. So this is a partnership that we're doing with the FIRA, and it gives us an opportunity to give something back to the community. Like I mentioned earlier, the sustainable gambling zone for us is a really critical part of the show, and anything that we can do to help promote safer gaming practices is very important to us. We focus on technology, so the ICE Research Institute is a way that we can intersect technology with promoting safer gaming. So yeah, it's really important. We're offering grants of up to €70,000 to research projects that can help secure data and provide evidence, so that when stakeholders are making decisions around gambling, these are based on evidence and not anecdotal evidence. So I think that's really critical, and we're very much focusing on prevention rather than treatment. So if we can prevent, gambling harm, that obviously is really important to us, and then you never get to the stage where you have to focus on the treatment. So that's the idea behind it.
Okay, well, in terms of legacy and impact, I have a final question, and I do promise it's the last one. If there was one thing that you wanted visitors to leave the ICE 2026 show and to come away with as they go back to their own home environment, their own operation, or whatever type of business it is, what would you like that to be?
Ooh, well, there are many things, but if I had to choose one, it would be the fact that ICE is the place where things happen. So ICE is the place where the technologies are going to be launched. So we know there's at least 25,000 technologies that are going to be launched across that week. ICE is the place where policies is going to be formed. We know that there's going to be 400 regulators in a room. That's when they're going to be having these important discussions, and that's where decisions are going to be made. And we know ICE is the place where partnerships are formed. So yeah, if you want to be at the event where things happen, you want to be at the most influential event for the whole of the gambling sector, then ICE is where you need to be.
That's perfect. Thank you both for participating, and I look so forward to seeing you very soon. We'll get Christmas and New Year out the way, and we're back in Barcelona. Thank you both.
Can't wait. See you in January. Thanks ever so much.